Welcome to the students of first PUC. This is session 4 of chapter 5, Laws of Motion. In the previous session, we had learnt about friction and laws of friction. In this session, I will be elaborating more about friction. In friction, we had learnt that there are three types of friction, which are static friction, sliding friction and rolling friction. We will go into the details of these three types of frictions. Let me begin. In our NCERT textbooks, this diagram is been given to describe about static friction. Let us go into the detail of this diagram. So, what is this depicting? Here, the force F is the external force that we are applying to move an object on a horizontal surface. As I try to move this object, there is friction between the surfaces in contact and the object is still not in motion. Even though I have applied some force, the object is still at rest, and the reason for that is static friction. In this case, the static friction is equal and opposite to the external force applied. So, I define static friction as it is the opposing force between the surfaces in contact which opposes the impending motion of an object. By telling impending, which means the motion which would have been there if at all static friction was not present. So, that is what is impending motion, a motion that would have been generated if at all static friction was not there. So, static friction opposes impending motion. Next, what about the properties of static friction? The static friction arises only when an external force is applied to move the object. When the object is at rest and there is no external force applied to move it, then in that case there is no static friction present there. Static friction or friction arises only when relative motion between two surfaces in contact is about to take place. Only then static friction or in general friction is going to arise. The third thing, if the object is still at rest even after applying external force, which means we will recall the condition for equilibrium. In case of two forces, the object is at rest when the two forces are equal and opposite. The same is applied even in this case. If the object is at rest even after applying an external force, which means the applied force and static friction are equal and opposite. That is why the object is at rest. So, the third point is static friction is equal and opposite to the external force applied. And this static friction has a limit. If I am to consider only the magnitude, then static friction has a limit or a maximum value which is called as limiting friction. This limiting friction is found to be proportional to normal reaction. We had studied about normal reaction in the previous session. If you take out the proportionality, so this is equal to limiting friction is proportional to normal reaction. If you take out the proportionality, we will get a constant which is called as coefficient of static friction. We call this symbol as mu. So, mu s is coefficient of static friction. So, limiting friction is equal to coefficient of static friction into normal reaction. If you have to consider just static friction, then static friction is less than or equal to mu s into normal reaction. Mu s maximum is the special case which is the limiting friction, which is the maximum of the static friction. Here mu s is called as coefficient of static friction. We will see further that the same law also applies in case of kinetic friction, and we have made a general law while studying laws of friction. Proceed further. To understand kinetic friction, we have this diagram in our NCERT textbook. So, let us try to understand this. The external force here is being increased because when we are trying to move the object, the static friction which was equal and opposite to the external force applied did not allow the object to move. So, I increase the force. As I increase the force, we will arrive at a limit or at a maximum of static friction. So, static friction has a limit, and that limit is called as limiting friction. So, as you increase the external force, this limiting friction is being overcome and the object starts to move. When the object starts to move, what we get is that kinetic friction. This diagram is representing a case where the external force is increased beyond limiting friction and the object is starting to move. These lines representing that the object is in motion. In that case, we have friction and it is called as kinetic friction. So, kinetic friction arises when an object is in relative motion on another surface or on another object. Now, I can define kinetic friction as the opposing force between two surfaces in contact when they are in relative motion. The another name for kinetic friction is sliding friction. So, we can also call here the friction as sliding friction, as one object is trying to slide on another surface, or we can also consider on another object. Also, it is found that kinetic friction is less than limiting friction, and then kinetic friction is again proportional to normal reaction. Take out the proportionality, we will get a constant, and in this case the constant is called the coefficient of kinetic friction. Earlier it was coefficient of static friction, now it is coefficient of kinetic friction. So, here nu k is called as coefficient of kinetic friction. Therefore, both in the case of static friction and kinetic friction, it is found that they are proportional to normal reaction. In both the cases, we get a constant which is coefficient of friction. In case of static friction, it is coefficient of static friction. In case of kinetic friction, it is coefficient of kinetic friction. So, we have generalized this while studying the laws of friction, where we have mentioned that friction is directly proportional to normal reaction. Further, even in case of kinetic friction, the coefficient of kinetic friction is found to be independent of the area of the surfaces in contact, and it depends upon the nature of the surfaces in contact. The coefficient of kinetic friction is found to be less than the coefficient of static friction. Therefore, kinetic friction is always less than static friction. Further, when the object is in motion and when there is friction or kinetic friction present between the surfaces in contact, I can write the net force in this case as, in presence of kinetic friction, the net force and therefore the acceleration of the object is given by, here the net force is going to be equal to the external force applied minus the kinetic friction. If I am to consider only the magnitudes, I can take off the vector symbol. Now, the net force is nothing but mass of the object into acceleration. So, this is going to be external force applied minus kinetic friction, and the acceleration of the object is going to be external force minus kinetic friction divided by the mass of the object. So, this gives the acceleration of an object in motion when there is kinetic friction present. These are the things about kinetic friction. Finally, we will move into rolling friction. To understand rolling friction, we will look at this diagram here. Suppose I have a wheel which is rolling on a surface. So, the wheel is moving ahead. When there is rolling, the surface of the wheel which is in contact with the horizontal surface is a very small area, or we can consider only a point or a small portion of the wheel is in contact with the surface, and generally it is not sliding on the surface. The wheel is rotating. So, every point on the wheel is only at momentary contact with the horizontal surface. So, in this case the friction between these two surfaces is negligible. Theoretically speaking, there is no friction between the wheel and the horizontal surface, but practically still there is some friction. So, if you put some wheel to roll on a surface, we see that definitely the wheel comes to rest, but here rolling friction is very much less than kinetic friction and static friction. It is lesser in the order of 2 or 3, therefore, the discovery of the wheel is been considered as a big milestone in the human history. There is not too many things given in your NCERT syllabus, or there is not too many things or properties related to rolling friction for us to learn. Now, we will move on to the advantages, the disadvantages and methods of reducing friction. Here are the advantages of friction. When we have been walking on a surface, it is possible for us to walk without to slip because of static friction. Therefore, static friction helps us to walk on a surface without slipping. The second one, the friction between the tires and the road provides the necessary external force to accelerate the car. If there was no enough friction between the tires and the road, then the wheel would slide on the surface. Many of us would have experienced this or would have seen this in case of a slippery road. When it has rained heavily, in many cases there is slipping of tires on the road. So, friction helps us even in motion of automobiles. Also, the kinetic friction helps in stopping an automobile while braking. Therefore, the reason for our vehicles to stop on the road when you brake is again friction. Friction is definitely needed for braking of vehicles. There are many more examples like this. If I have to write on the board, then the friction between the chalk and the board is what helps us to write on the board. Similarly, when I am writing on a paper, the friction between the pen and the paper is what helps us to write on the paper. You would have experienced, if you try to write on a glass surface, it is not possible there because the friction between the pen and the glass surface is very much less there. So, it is not possible to write there. Not just advantages, there are also disadvantages of friction. So, let us look into the disadvantages. The disadvantages of friction are seen more in machine parts. So, wherever there are machines with moving parts, there we see the disadvantages of friction. So, what are they? In machines with different moving parts, friction leads to wastage of power in the form of heat. In many of the machine parts in machineries, we see that heating up of parts, even in our vehicles, the engine of the vehicle, even there a lot of heat is being generated. That is because of friction. If at all we are not using lubricants in our vehicle engines, then the engine would get seized or would get damaged very quickly. It also leads to wear and tear of machine parts. Friction or viscous force in fluids limits the speed of travel through fluids. If we have seen bullet trains, the front portion of the bullet train is being streamlined or it is in the shape of an arrow. So, what is this? This is to reduce the friction while moving through air. Air also gives friction, if not air, even water. When we are moving through water, all the boats you see they are streamlined or they are arrow headed. That is because to reduce friction from fluids. Fluids in this case means both air and liquid. So, even in case of motion through fluids, there is friction which would limit or which would reduce the speed of travel. So, what are the methods of reducing this friction? Well, friction is both needed and in many other cases it is not needed. So, there are both advantages and disadvantages. Wherever it is a disadvantage, we also need to reduce that friction. So, what are the methods of reducing friction? So kinetic friction can be reduced by polishing the surfaces. When you have an object sliding on another surface, if you want to reduce friction there, then by polishing the surfaces or by making the surfaces smoother, we can reduce friction. Friction between machine parts can be reduced by using lubricants and by using ball bearings. We have seen this. So in our cycle wheels, the reason for using ball bearings or applying grease and oil is to reduce friction. In motion of aeroplanes, rockets through air and boats or ships through water, viscous drag is reduced by streamlining their bodies. So what do you mean by streamlining? It's nothing but making the leading edges of the object sharper. We find a question in our examination. The question is, friction is a necessary evil, explain. In that case, what we have to do is, by telling the word necessary evil, which means there are both advantages and disadvantages of friction. So in that case, we will have to mention both the advantages and disadvantages and finally conclude, therefore friction is a necessary evil. After having gone through the properties and some mathematics related to the different types of friction, we shall now solve some 2 numericals from your NCERT textbook. These numericals will help us in understanding the role of static friction and kinetic friction in the motion of objects. So here is the first numerical. Determine the maximum acceleration of the train in which a box lying on its floor will remain stationary, given that the coefficient of static friction between the box and the train's floor is 0.15. So I have already noted down the data given and the diagram which would help us in understanding this numerical. So there is a train in motion. Now it wants to accelerate, which means it wants to increase its velocity. So how greater the acceleration can be, so that the box in a compartment is not going to slip from the floor and hit the other edge. To understand, let me have a small demo. I have placed a wooden block on a book. As I move the book, the wooden block also moves with it. Just increase the speed, keep increasing. So now what happened? The wooden block slipped. This time I shall accelerate the book, which means I will increase the speed, and let me see what happens. So you see, there is a certain limit of acceleration. You can't suddenly accelerate the book. If you suddenly accelerated, or if the acceleration was greater than a permissible limit, then the wooden block slipped from the surface of the book and it dropped down. The same is going to happen even in the case of this problem, where a box kept in the compartment of a train can slip from the surface and hit the other end. So what is the case there? If the force resulting in acceleration is greater than the limiting friction, then the box will slip from the floor. Therefore, the maximum permissible limit will have to be, F will have to be less than or equal to limiting friction. To calculate the maximum permissible acceleration for the box to not slide or slip from the floor, let me equate the external force with limiting friction. The maximum permissible acceleration is found by equating external force to limiting friction. Therefore, F external has to be equal to limiting friction, and the external force is mass into acceleration, and this is equal to limiting friction, which is coefficient of static friction into normal reaction. We have learnt the mathematics of limiting friction or static friction. So equate the force to limiting friction. Let us continue further. So which implies mass into acceleration should be equal to coefficient of static friction into what is normal reaction? It is m into g. In this case, normal reaction is m into g, which is equal to weight of the box. You can cancel m on both the sides. So A is equal to mu s into g. What is the question being asked? Determine the maximum acceleration of the train in which a box lying on its floor will remain stationary. So the box will remain stationary if acceleration is less than or equal to mu s into g. We will make a final statement here. Therefore, the box remains stationary if the acceleration is less than or equal to coefficient of static friction into g, acceleration due to gravity. This finishes the first numerical, and this numerical helps us in understanding the role of static friction or limiting friction in motion of objects. Here is the second numerical. A mass of 4 kg rests on a horizontal plane. The plane is gradually inclined until an angle theta of 15 degree with the horizontal. The mass just begins to slide. What is the coefficient of static friction between the block and the surface? So let us note down the data given. Before we start solving the numerical, let us try to understand the numerical. We have a box on a horizontal surface, and the horizontal surface is slowly raised unless it starts to slide down. So this is the condition being represented here. In the numerical given, the angle of inclination is found to be 15 degree when the object starts to slide. When the object starts to slide, the object is moving down the incline. We have friction acting against the motion. In the numerical given, we are supposed to find static friction. So consider just before the object starts to slide, just before it starts to slide, the friction experienced is, which is the maximum limit, that is the limiting friction. Therefore, let us note down static friction when the object has just started to move down. So in that case, the friction acting is almost equal to limiting friction. So let us equate limiting friction. To solve the numerical, we have to look into the different forces acting on the object. On every object, there is always the weight of the object m into g acting downwards. Whenever the object is placed on a surface, there is normal reaction. Which is always perpendicular to the surfaces in contact. The normal reaction is being provided by the surface, by the horizontal surface, in this case, which is inclined at an angle 15 degree. Now, what is the force which is making the object to slide? Let us see it. When the object has just started to slide, the forces acting on it are its weight acting vertically down and the normal reaction, which is perpendicular to the horizontal surface, in this case which is inclined at an angle 15 degree. What makes the object to slide? If you resolve the weight into two perpendicular components, one along the horizontal surface, the another perpendicular to it, we will see in this case, the angle here is theta and the force here will be equal to mg cos theta. The force which is responsible for the object to slide down is mg sin theta. The weight of the object which is acting vertically down, if you resolve into two perpendicular components, you will get the component mg sin theta acting along the incline, and this is what is responsible for the object to slide down. And mg cos theta, this is going to be equal and opposite to the normal reaction. Further, we know that friction is acting always between two surfaces in contact which are in relative motion. And here, when the object has just started to slide, the friction here is limiting friction. So now equate mg sin theta to limiting friction, we can find the coefficient of static friction. So from the diagram, the forces acting on the object when it just starts to slide on the surface are, the first thing is the weight, which is equal to m into g, it is acting vertically down. The second, normal reaction, which is perpendicular to the surfaces in contact, and the third one being limiting friction, which is Fs maximum, which is equal to coefficient of static friction into normal reaction, which is opposite to the motion of the object. So if you know these things, we can solve the numerical now. Further, so resolving the weight into two perpendicular components, we get the first thing, normal reaction is equal to mg cos theta. Let me note down this as equation 1. And second thing, limiting friction is going to be equal to mg sin theta. So limiting friction is mu s into n, which is equal to mg sin theta. Further, the coefficient of static friction is going to be equal to mg sin theta divided by normal reaction. In the place of normal reaction, substitute equation 1. Substituting equation 1, we get mu s is equal to mg sin theta divided by normal reaction is mg cos theta. So m, g and g get cancelled, and coefficient of static friction is now equal to sin theta by cos theta. From trigonometry, this is equal to tan theta. In the place of theta, substitute 15 degree, we will get coefficient of static friction. So this implies mu s is equal to tan 15 degree. Having opened your mathematical table, in the table of natural tangents, we can find what is tan 15 degree. From this, we get tan 15 is equal to 0.2679, and I can round it off nearly to 0.27. Finally, we will conclude by making the statement that The coefficient of static friction between the block and the surface is equal to 0.27. Coefficient of static friction is just a number and it does not have a unit nor a dimension. So, it is a unitless and dimensionless quantity. That is all for this session. Thank you.